they have no concerns regarding the genetic screening that they did for Gary and the genetic screening they did for me. They found one thing with me, but it's not a big concern, and then they found two things with Gary. So basically, more likely the baby will not have any deficiencies, the baby will not have any problems with the genetic screening and so forth. But Gary did go, and the lady offered him to do like an iron deficiency test to see where in his, I guess his red blood cells, they're not, I guess, the normal size or something. So he's going to do another testing. That's totally on him. So they ordered a test for him to just take more blood work to see actually what's going on with the iron blood cells in his body. So with that being said, this is the video for today. So our next appointment will be the semen analysis 2. And then after the semen analysis 2, which is on the 27th of December. And so once that's done, then those results, I know they probably going to just take a day. So with that being said, I'll come back with an update on that. And then on January 2nd, I have my follow-up. 2023, I'll have my follow-up appointment with my doctor to tell me what would be the best procedure to go through, and so forth. I'm pretty sure they can tell me now, but I don't think they're going to tell me. Okay, my love. So with that being said, please like, subscribe, and share this journey. I'm telling you all, I told you all I was going to keep y'all posted. So this is the update and so forth. All right, I will see you all soon. Have a great day.
January 12th, 1971.
Perfect. Okay, so tell me a little bit about where the two of you are in the fertility process and kind of what the plan is at this point.
Yeah, so right now we are actually going through like that main process of the blood work, and I did my HSG. So now we're just going to do another semen analysis, and then after that I'll have my follow up. So everything else is done. I'm just waiting on the next semen analysis because we have to do 2, and then after that, I'll have my follow up on January 2nd.
Got it. Okay,
Yes.
Great. And do we have a plan in terms of method of conception, IUI, IVF?
No, and that's what the follow up is for. So that's what I'm just trying to wait to find out.
Yes, to know what it's going to look like to go through all of this.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. And that's helpful for me to know. So what my role in all of this as a genetic counselor is to help the two of you think about things from a genetics perspective.
Okay.
So talk through the testing you already had done, ask you both some questions about your family history, see if there's anything we should be thinking about there from a genetics perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and then talk a little bit too about other testing options that might be available as the two of you go through this process.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any questions that you have right off the bat or any topics that you want to make sure we talk about?
No, I don't have any questions right now.
Okay, great.
No,
And if or when they come up, please feel free to interrupt me.
Okay.
Okay. So the testing you already had done, the carrier screening, how much information do you already have about that? Have you seen the results?
I did look at mine, and one of the, I don't even know how to pronounce this B word, so I'm not going to even try. I was like, what is that? But it actually makes sense because when I was a preemie, and so I had a lot of I'm gonna say respiratory problems when I was a baby, and so it just makes sense after talking to my mom and her explaining, how I was when I was in the hospital, if that makes sense. And they was trying to find some milk for me, and the milk that they was giving me just wasn't working. So it just kind of like makes sense, and that's how I interpreted what I've read. So I would like to hear more from you, if that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with this testing that was done, the carrier screening, like you said, you saw that you were a carrier of one condition. Gary, have you seen yours at all? Your results?
No, I haven't seen it. I went to look one time, but I don't know if I wasn't going in the system right. But I haven't
Okay.
seen it.
Okay. That's good to know. So you were also found to be a carrier of a couple conditions. When we think about these types of conditions, they happen when somebody has 0 working copies of a particular gene. So they would have to inherit one non-working copy of this particular gene from both of their parents. So these are conditions that you do not have, either of the two of you, and we wouldn't expect the two of you together to have a baby with any of the conditions that were on the panel, the 283 that were tested,
Mm-hmm.
because there's not an overlap where you two were not going to be carriers of any of the same conditions.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So if we think about our genes in general, we've got 2 copies of most genes in our bodies. We get 1 copy in the sperm and 1 copy in the egg. And like I was saying, these types of conditions happen if someone has 0 working copies.
Got it. Okay.
What it means to be a carrier is that you've got 1 working and 1 non-working copy.
Oh, okay.
And so that's what was shown for the two of you. I'll walk through what the conditions were and all of that. I'll walk through those reports with you. But they're not saying that you have these conditions. They're saying that you could have the possibility of a baby with these conditions if your partner were also a carrier.
Okay.
But since there's not overlap with the two of you, we don't expect that to be the case.
Got it. Okay.
Because if we think about for the condition, remember how you pronounce your name?
Ranikia.
Ranikia.
Uh-huh.
Ranikia.
Mhm.
Okay. For the conditions that Ranikia is a carrier of, she's got 1 working, 1 non-working copy. Gary, we see that you've got 2 working copies of those genes. And we're going to pass on 1 out of 2 copies of our genes to our children. So we would expect babies getting a working copy from Gary, regardless of what Ranikia passes.
Got it. Okay.
And vice versa for the conditions that Gary is a carrier of. We see Ranikia's got 2 working copies here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I always say when this happens that there is low risk rather than no risk for baby to have these conditions, just because when it comes to genetics, we can't really rule anything out completely. There's so much that we still don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
But the likelihood is low, less than 1%, often much less than 1%, because like we said, we aren't expecting that to be the case. We expect babies getting at least 1 working copy from the non-carrier parent. The reason we can't rule it out completely is that we have over 20,000 bodies. We don't know what they all do. So
Right.
it could be possible that there's a gene we don't know about yet, or changes within these genes that at this point in time we say they're part of normal human variation, but down the line we get some more data that says actually this particular change does impact the function of the gene. That's the only reason we can't really rule it out.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. But when we think about what the most likely outcomes are for baby, because you two are not carriers with the same conditions, we would expect baby either inherits 2 working copies, is not a carrier, or maybe inherits 1 working and 1 non-working copy and is a carrier. For these conditions, we don't really expect symptoms from people who are carriers.
Okay.
Okay. So, Ranikia, like you had mentioned, that condition, the biotinidase deficiency, that big long word.
I could not. I was like, okay, I got it. Didn't get it.
All of these names are really, really hard to pronounce and really, really long, which is super fun for me every day as I stumble over them. But what that condition is it's a metabolic condition where the body is unable to recycle the vitamin biotin. And so biotinidase is an enzyme that helps recycle biotin. The recycling of biotin is really important for breaking down proteins. So like you saw in the report, if we don't have enough biotin, the body's not able to break down proteins. We can see an accumulation that can look like symptoms such as seizures, poor muscle tone, other neurological abnormalities, developmental delay, and then, like you said, respiratory problems,
Okay.
hearing problems. So with you being born premature and having some of those respiratory problems when you were born, being a carrier of this wouldn't necessarily explain that, but it is something that we can see just for babies who are born a little bit early in general, that they might have respiratory problems.
Okay.
So we wouldn't say that, yes, you being a carrier of this condition is why that happened, but there are probably reasons or other things playing a role in why when you were born premature you had some of those features.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions about your results?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Great. And then Gary, you're a carrier of 2 conditions. One is called autosomal recessive polycystic kidney disease. And what happens there is if babies don't have 2 working copies of this gene called PKH1, their kidneys essentially don't function properly. There are cysts that form on the kidneys, and it impacts the function such that they typically need kidney transplant early in life. Otherwise, they have end-stage renal failure by age about 10 or so.
Okay.
Okay. But again, we're not expecting baby to have this because the chronic kid's got 2 working copies of this gene.
Okay.
Okay. Second condition you're a carrier of, Gary, is something called alpha thalassemia. So that's a condition related to the hemoglobin in our blood, which its job is to carry oxygen to our tissues. hemoglobin is made up of two components, alpha globin and beta globin. So alpha thalassemia is thinking about that alpha globin of the blood, of the hemoglobin. And there are actually two genes that make up alpha globin, so we actually think about 4 copies rather than 2 in this particular condition. Gary, you're what's called a silent carrier, which means that you have 3 out of 4 copies that are working properly. You're just missing 1 copy. And for you, that doesn't impact the function of your alpha globin at all. Having 3 out of 4 copies is sufficient. We wouldn't typically expect to see any abnormalities on your blood work. Where we do see symptoms is if a baby has 0 working copies. That's something that can be life limiting, often results in either a miscarriage or a stillbirth because their body's not able to carry enough oxygen to the tissues as they're growing and developing in utero. Or if baby has only 1 copy, then we can see that they would have fairly severe anemia that might require transfusions over the course of their life.
Okay.
But for you having 3 out of 4 copies, nothing that we would expect there, and Ronikia, which has got 4 out of 4 working copies.
Okay.
One additional little thing to think about with these conditions related to hemoglobin is that we sort of double check the DNA testing by doing what's called a complete blood count and hemoglobin analysis just to make sure everything matches up there. And again, for Ronikia, because she has 4 out of 4 working copies, blood work looks completely normal. Gary, for you, there's something a little bit different on your blood work that we don't typically expect to see with people who are just silent carriers. You have what's called a low MCH, which means that your red blood cells are a little bit smaller in size than we would expect. Sometimes that can happen because someone is iron deficient, like an iron deficient situation. That's often the case. Other times it can be that maybe they're missing more copies of this alpha globin gene than we would expect. We can see that sometimes people who have 2 out of 4 working copies might have this kind of blood work. So either way, it doesn't really change my risk assessment because we know that Ronikia's got 4 working copies, and so we expect babies getting at least 2 copies from her, regardless of what you're passing on. But the only way to really clarify, are you a silent carrier? Is it iron deficiency? What's going on here with your blood work? Would be to repeat the blood work and do what's called iron studies. If that's something you're interested in, we could coordinate it. But if you feel like it's not helpful, since it probably wouldn't change risk assessment, not something that we have to anyway.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What are kind of your initial thoughts on that?
I can do it.
You'd like to?
Yeah.
Great. And so
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I guess it can't hurt anything. So I guess.
Sure. Yeah, we could repeat the blood work, and so what would happen there is I could order that for you now. It would run through your insurance. You would go and get your blood drawn, and then on the back end, they'd have you come back, have another appointment just to talk through the results, see if we got any answers about what's going on here. You know, do we know that it's iron deficiency, or did we find out that it's something else?
Okay. And if it comes back the same, then what does that mean?
So.
This is a different kind of blood work. Okay.
A little bit different, yeah. So we would be doing the iron studies piece is not what we've done before. So if it comes back